Biosensors and uses of biodiversity. Biological resource. The bioresource are important components for progress and economical activities of nation. But bioresource management and utilization for human welfare is very important for the optimum utilization of the bioresource. Awareness of the important and the implications of bioresource among the common people as well as elite education citizens for self-guarding and protecting the optimum and balanced way of using the bioresource needs critical study to focus the natural bioresource wealth for the benefits of not only the present generation of our people but also to our future generations for their better healthy and peaceful living on the earth. The problem facing at the present is the over exploitations of bioresource natural resource, which would not only have the negative impact on the environment but also sometimes destroy and erodes the important bioresources which are available at the local level, regional level and national level. Therefore, the handling bioresource is the proper manner in an appropriate way in is improving of optimum use without over exploitation of our bioresource wealth. Kannayan 1999. The biological resource includes the genetic resource, organisms or part thereof, populations of or any other biotic component of ecosystem with actual or potential use or value for humanity. The ecosystem management in a location is important and integral part of conservations and protections of biological diversity of India. The ecosystem is a dynamic complex of plant, animals, and microorganisms community and their non-living environment interacting as a functional unit, and habit is the place or type of site where an organisms or population naturally occurs. Biodiversity. All living on earth is a part of one great interdependent system. It interacts with and depends on the non-living component of the plant such as atmosphere, oceans, fresh water, rocks and soil. The humanity depends totally on this community of life, the biosphere, of which human being are integral part. The biological diversity is the variety of world's organisms, including their genetic diversity. In the scientific technology for the natural biological wealth that influences the human life and well-being, the breadth of the concept of biodiversity reflects on the interrelationship of the genes, species and ecosystem. Singh 2004. The variations of living nature on the planet earth, the biodiversity or diversity of life is still overwhelming. Our planet supports between 3 and 30 million species of plant systems, animals, fungi, and single-celled prokaryotes such as bacteria and single-celled eukaryotes such as protozoa. Of this total biological system, only about 1.4 million species have been identified and named so far. It has been shown that fewer than 1% has been studied for the ecological relationship and the role in ecosystem. A little more than half of the named species are insects which normally dominate terrestrial and freshwater communities worldwide. Biodiversity, the use of conservation. The use and value of biodiversity. The plant species provides varieties of products like food, medicines and raw materials. Some plant extracts are used in manufacturing of glue, soaps, cosmetics, dyes, lubricant and polish. The plants also provides an important source of renewable energy. medicinal plants. Around 119 pure chemical substances extracted from some 90 species of higher plants were used in medicines throughout the world. The Indian medicine system is largely dependent on such drug plants. The local people, particularly the tribal people, rely on the indigenous and traditional medicines. The WHO listed over 21,000 medicinal plants, and most of these are temperate species. The Indian subcontinent has been one of the rich emporia of 2,500 plant species used in indigenous treatment. The Aconitum, Dioscorea, Epidra species are some of the most endangered plant. The collection of medicinal plants from the remote and interior area provides the employment and fetches earning. Genetic diversity. Genetic diversity is the past little attention and paid to genetic variation among the wild species. Although it is the fact crucial to the continued abundance of biological forms, the development of species diversity, and the functioning of biosphere, the ecosystem, and the biological communities. The extent of biodiversity within a species depends upon the number of individuals, its geographical range, the degree of isolation of individual population, and its genetic system. An important role is also played by natural and anthropogenic processes of selection, as well as the factor in influencing the spatial and temporal changes in the genetic stocks of the species or populations. The genetic variety is essential to the ability of the species and the population to adapt to changes the environmental conditions, and it is therefore a prerequisite for their survival. Conservation of biodiversity for sustainable agriculture. The widespread loss of a global biological wealth is one of the most serious crises today at international level, as many of the world diverse life forms, from the microbes, the higher animals, and the plants, have a direct or indirect influence on agriculture. Conservation of these animal is of this organism is essential for sustainable agriculture. To feed growing populations, agriculture must be intensified to provide more food. It will also be essential to increase the resistance of resilience of agriculture by maintaining the wide array of life forms with unique traits, such as a tree that survives drought conditions, or cattle or goats or pig that reproduce in harsh conditions. Sustainable agriculture practices can both feed people and protect oceans, forest, and other ocean system that harbors biological diversity. The biodiversity for human security is the slogan put forth by the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, Rome, Italy. It pays tribute to the role of biological diversity in ensuring that people has regular access to enough quality food to lead active and highly prosperous life. The FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, has chosen and declared biodiversity for food security in World Food Day theme during the year 2004. FAO 2004. Also in 2004, the world celebrated the entire entry into the force of Food and Agriculture Organization International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resource on Food and Agriculture. The Global Biodiversity Convention. While the past global biodiversity was regarded as the common heritage of mankind, since plants and animals have moved from the time immemorial without restriction across the world and across the political frontiers. The Global Biodiversity Convention, signed by the representatives of over 150 nations at Rio de Janeiro in June 1992, recognizes that the states have sovereign rights over the biological resource. The Global Biodiversity Convention further places the way and mode for sharing the economical benefits accruing from the use of biodiversity among the contracting parties on the mutually agreed terms. The primary objectives of a global biodiversity convention. The primary diversity of Global Biodiversity Convention GBS to be pursued in accordance with the relative provisions or the conservations of biological diversity, the sustainable use of its component, and the fair and equitability sharing on the benefits arises out the utilization of genetic resource, including by appropriate access to the genetic resource and by appropriate transfer of relevant technologies, taking into account all rights over those resources and to technologies and by appropriate funding. One value of biodiversity. The World Charter for Nature was adopted by the General Assembly of United Nations during 1982. It has adopted the policies that every form of life is unique and warrants respects regardless of its worth to human being. The social, ethical, and economic values of these resources have been recognized in religion, architecture throughout the humankind history. The general public often recognizes the intangible values that enriches the quality of life, but the process of development tends to emphasize the more tangible economic benefits. 2. Global biodiversity strategy. The Biodiversity Convention is increasingly being recognized as a fundamental component of sustainable development. The goal of biodiversity conservation is to support sustainable development by protecting and using the biological resource in a way that do not diminish the world's variety of genes and species or destroy the important habitat and ecosystem. 3. The National Biodiversity Authority. The draft on National Biodiversity Strategy and the Action Plan (NBSAP) was debated and placed in the Lok Sabha in December 2003. Some of the action proposed are given below. Bill 1. Building Biodiversity Atlas. 2. Monitoring the status of ecosystem throughout the country. 3. Declaring and protecting the domesticated landscape and agro-biodiversity hotspots. And 4. Concerning threatened pet breeds. 4. Biological Diversity Act 2002. After the extension and intensive consultation processes involving the stakeholders, the central government has brought Biological Diversity Act 2002. 5. Conservation of the entire range of biodiversity. It is vital to conserve and protect the entire range of biodiversity. The conservation of entire range of biodiversity from the microorganisms and the soil flora and fauna to higher plants and animals is important. The genotype, species, and the ecosystem, which are the basis of our life, supports the system of food security needs to be conserved. For this, an integrated net of informal and formal system is necessary. The XC2 measures preserved biodiversity but arrests the process of evolution, which can continue in situ. People's participation in biodiversity conservation. The people's participation is very important to integrate ecosystem conservation and rural development, and it is necessary to know the need for their demand on the ecosystem. Kusho in 1993. The indigenous people are the integral part of the ecosystem. They are not only familiar with the several plant animal species in our ecosystem, but also understand the ecological interrelationship of various component of the resource based better than more modern forester. Biologist, agronomist, and ecologist, with a constant association with the surrounding vegetation, they learn to utilize many plant species for the day-to-day need.